What is going on, y'all? We got a couple of stories we are going to cover. Y'all know, like I always say, we are going to learn something from any and everything. So let's jump right into it. Let's get into this story. And y'all are going to see me looking down because I'm looking down at my iPad and my phone. But you guys will be able to see it on the screen as always. So let's get into this story really quick. I don't know if some of you have heard about this, but this story is the newborn babies at a Virginia hospital have been suffering mysterious injuries, and a nurse now faces abuse charges. What do people be having going on? What do people be having going on in their mental? Y'all, I broke 2 nails. If I told y'all the story of how that happened, y'all would laugh. But if you know me, you know I keeps my nails done. My nails grow pretty fast, and I know if y'all say, she never stay on topic, she be jumping on and jumping off. It doesn't matter. If you know, you know. If you don't, you know. So, newborn babies at a Virginia hospital have been suffering mysterious injuries. A nurse now faces abuse charges. I was like, what? So, let me show y'all. Okay, let me read some of the story first. Okay. Let's read this part of the story. This is what this is. Dominique Hackey was waiting to cradle his preemie son for the first time when a nurse delivered devastating news. The newborn's left leg was fractured. In an instant, Hackey's world shattered. His wife, Tori Hackey, had just been discharged after giving birth to fraternal twins, Micah and Noah. How do y'all be picking y'all kids' names? Let me tell y'all how I picked my son's name. I used to watch this show. I think it was called Home Improvement or something like that. Remember, they would say, move that bus, and they would move it. So they would pick a family, completely renovate the home, and then the family would be going crazy like, oh my God, right? And so the guy on there who was one of the stars, he would be doing the renovations. His name was Ty Pennington. Well, at the time, I did not want to just name my son Ty because I was like, no. So I was like, I'm going to name him Tyler so I can call him Ty for short. That is literally how I picked my son's name. Because now mind you, I didn't have my son until I was 24. So I was watching this show, Extreme Home Makeover, for years. And I was like, I love the name Ty. And then I always said that if I had a girl, I was going to name her Kylie. I love the name Kylie. So, yeah, that's a little fun fact. So it says his wife, Tori Hackey, had just been discharged after giving birth to fraternal twins, Micah and Noah. The boys, born in September 2023 at Henrico Doctors Hospital in Richmond, Virginia, are the couple's first children. And if I butchered that name at the hospital, we just gonna make it up. So let me show y'all a picture of the baby. This is Tukabut. So y'all see him, right? So so I guess when the husband went there, he took a picture like of his son. Now, let me show y'all the part where they actually show, I'm going to zoom in for you guys so you can see it a little better. Let me get the photo. That was just so sad. I was like, who does that? So here is the photo of his fractured foot. So I circled it. So y'all see that little brown, little cast looking thing? That's what they had to put on Fat Daddy's foot because it was fractured. So that was him. Okay, let's finish the story. So, because they were born at 28 weeks and weighed only about 2 pounds and 3, no, I'm sorry. Because they were born at 28 weeks and weighed only about 2 and 3 pounds, respectively, the twins had remained in a neonatal intensive care unit. That's pretty normal. When you have a baby and they're premature, they're going to remain in what's called the NICU, right? With Micah barely hanging on, Hackey said, and now 7 days after birth, the healthier twin's leg was bruised and broken. So this happened 7 days after the baby was born. And the second baby, who was relatively healthy, now I come in and visit my son, my twins, and you tell me that the relatively healthy baby has a bruised and like broken leg. Like, what are we doing? So here's what the dad says. I was confused and heartbroken, he said. I'm a first-time parent. I have no background in the medical field. You're telling me my baby has a fracture? How did it happen? They had been scanned before and they'd have said something. I don't know what they're trying to say. Had said something if anything had popped up at that time. So when you have a baby that's that small, what the nurses or the doctor, but I'm pretty sure it's the nurses, what they can do is they will give them a shot. And there's something in that shot. I don't know if it's like I'm not trying to act like I'm a nurse because I don't know. But whatever it is in that shot, it almost like runs through the body, and it'll basically highlight if there's like a broken bone or there's a fracture, right? Because sometimes you can't really tell because, the babies are so little. So they use that procedure to basically try to find out if there's broken bones, right? Makes sense. So but y'all already scanned them. So you didn't find anything. So what happened from when they were born till now? So this is what he says. Out of fear, he would be blamed for the injury. The 33-year-old Hackey said he turned down the offer to hold his son that day. More than a year later, Hackey and other parents may now be closer to understanding what happened at the hospital, which has reported a series of mysterious injuries to newborns over the past several years. Now, it's so easy for people to be like, oh my gosh, that doesn't even make any sense. Why wouldn't you hold your baby? Why wouldn't you say anything? Why wouldn't you raise concerns? But you all have to understand, sometimes when you are not familiar with something, when you are unsure, when you are scared, you never know how you will react in that situation. Of course, me reading this, my mind is like, yeah, right. If my baby was in the ICU, I'm pressing a nurse immediately. I'm pressing the doctors immediately. But there's so many thoughts that are going on in your mind. You might not actually respond that way for multiple different reasons. Like you said, it could be a fear of y'all may try to say, I did it. Just fear of just not knowing, or fear of saying, okay, if I say something, I may now I have to leave the hospital. Now my babies are going to be left here. I've been in that position to where I wanted to say something, and then I realized like, dang, I can't, not right now. So I would be like, oh God, please give me when to say something, because my son either has to return back to that environment or go back to that situation. And I don't want him to get the backlash, right? So to me, what he was saying, I'm like, that makes perfect sense. I can see why one would react and or respond that way. But then they find out a year later, which now, let me show you a picture of the baby. This is him now. And of course, they're saying that he is healthy and he is thriving now. That's him right now. They said, I think they said he's about 16 months. So they said he's getting around. He's perfectly fine. But they did not find out until a year later that there was actually on the low something going on. So what it says is, police last week arrested a former nurse at the hospital, Erin Elizabeth Ann Stratman. Your name sound like you would do something like this. Not being funny. And even though we make jokes throughout the video, none of these things are laughable. Again, we're going to learn something from any and everything. And charged her with malicious wounding and felony child abuse in November 2024, incident involving another newborn. So they charged her for not even the twins' case. This was a complete separate case. Now it says investigators are now looking into a total of 7 potential abuse cases at the hospital, 3 in 2004 and 4 in 2003, including Noah's, said Shannon Taylor, the Commonwealth attorney for Henrico County. So now she got charged with another little pookie butt incident. And because of that investigation, they now discovered the twins, baby Noah, is going to become a part of this investigation. In a statement last week, Henrico's Doctors Hospital said it was shocked and saddened by the nurse's arrest, and it is assisting Henrico's police in their investigation. Let me tell you something. One thing about it, 2 things for certain. the big wig of the company or the company itself, they always have to be like, we are shocked and saddened by these events that just occurred and we are in full cooperation. It's like, oh, stop. You better believe this lady probably had other complaints. I would not be surprised. It's like, come on. Y'all know, again, hindsight is 2020. But I'm like, nobody knew nothing. So now what they're saying, at this time, this is what the hospital is saying. At this time, we are not admitting new patients to our NICU. The hospital added, for babies needing NICU care, we will assess them, stabilize, and facilitate a transfer to an appropriate facility once available. Now, the hospital, if this was like just solely a complete isolated incident, why would a hospital no longer accept NICU babies? And the babies that they currently have there, y'all are going to help facilitate the transfer, which means you're going to put those babies into a different hospital. Loss of money is the number one. So this leads me to believe this seems a little bit more serious than just this is an isolated nurse. This doesn't seem like an isolated nurse situation. It makes me feel as though, and there's not more to the story as of right now because this just came out today. With the report, it seems as though when they get to talking to staff members and things like that, it gives there's more to the story. It gives concerns were being brought up, because why would a hospital shut down one of the most vital, important parts of their functionality? And not only are you shutting it down, the babies that are currently in your care, you have to now transfer them to somewhere else. For one person? Now, on one hand, you can say, well, that's good. I'm glad the hospital taking precaution. I understand that. But if you have any idea how a multi-million-dollar company is ran, especially a hospital, it's like, what? Now, granted, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of parents that raise a lot of concerns who probably may possibly want to remove their child anyway. But for the hospital to say, regardless of the fact, if a parent complains or not, this is what we're doing. We're no longer taking NICU babies, and the babies we have now, we're coordinating their transfer. Until when? Until the investigation is over, till the trial happens, till she gets officially charged. Like, what? It's giving something in the milk ain't clean. Okay, I thought it was just me. So here's what it says. Pardon me. It says, it is unclear whether Stratman, the nurse, 26, issued a plea at her arraignment. Her attorney, Scott Cardini, declined to comment when reached by CNN. Now, that would be interesting. I wonder if she took a plea, if she's going to take a plea. Well, first of all, if they already did, let me read this part. Okay, police are reviewing hundreds of hours of hospital surveillance footage. Henrico County police investigators said that they are scouring hundreds of hours of surveillance footage from the hospital's NICU to determine what happened to 7 newborns. The investigation is ongoing and there could be more babies identified. Can y'all imagine her family? Like, no, seriously. Can you imagine her family, the thoughts of her family, her friends? It's like, girl, what? You were actually injuring innocent newborns? Now, a little bit of speculation when I was reading some more about the article. They were saying that it appears to be, they said they can't confirm every single child, but they were saying out of the 7, most of them were brown and black. But at this point, when I say it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean to minimize it. But at this point, it doesn't even matter because these are innocent babies. Like, what did you have going on? Like, what do you have going on where you could take the innocent foot of a NICU baby who's probably 2 to 3 pounds, and then you thought to yourself, I'm finna break or fracture its leg? What are you getting out of that? Possibly OT? If the baby has to stay longer, you're not getting ready to make nearly enough money to even cover anything that you're doing than the hospital, because now they're going to have to bill for that. Pardon me. You're acting as though what you did is getting ready to benefit you to the max. This story was so heartbreaking. I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine. And if you guys know, there's different stories that are surrounded, especially around Black and brown people, where we get treated differently. If you're a Black or brown person and you're pregnant in the hospital, they say you get treated differently. You get different service, right? They don't want to help you with your pain. They looking to discharge you right away. And I'm going to be honest, I used to hear some of those stories. So when I found out I was pregnant and I knew I was going to go through the process of obviously having the baby at the hospital, I was nervous about that. And at the time, I was living in a different state, so I didn't have any immediate family. It was so funny. I remember when I was giving birth, we set up cameras in the room. Like, my sister was on Skype at the time watching me give birth and cheering me on and different things like that. So, you know, some people, they get nervous going to the hospital when you feel like you're the when you feel like, and when you are the minority, you feel like you don't get the treatment that you deserve. You feel like you're not heard. You feel like you're not being listened to. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the viral videos, and if not, you can look them up, where, you know, Black and brown people are in the hospital or in the emergency room. And again, I'm not saying that this is one for all for one. I don't mean that this happens everywhere. But again, we're gonna learn something from any and everything and bring awareness. Where you've seen some of the viral videos where parents who were Black and brown, and they were saying, we asked the doctor to do this to my son, but they said he was already dying. We don't want to give him any more medicine. They didn't want to come in and talk to us. They would ignore us. They wasn't keeping us updated. And then that child or their loved one ended up passing away. And now they're recording the interaction at the hospital. And some of these staff at the hospital, some of the staff members, when I tell you them recordings, I'm like, why are people this rude? Like, what is going on that you're a nurse and you're a doctor and you're being rude at a person's most sensitive time, where their loved one is in a coma or their loved one has been in an accident or been shot or whatever the case may be, and you coming into the room being nasty? Like, you should already know that these people are automatically going to feel some type of way, and their reaction and their responses may not be the best. I'm not making an excuse of the family, right? But we also have to use common sense. You don't know how you will react when you come in and something is going on and you're in the most vulnerable, devastating time. And now these people are kind of treating you like business as usual. And I understand that they have to have a certain, I guess, image, because you're taking care of business. Like, this is still your job, meaning your job is to save lives. And you do have to have a balance with your emotion. But then there also should be a part of you where you should be trained to be sensitive, where you know some parents is going to freak out, go off, get angry, because one of the most scariest things is when you don't know what's going on and these doctors are throwing different words at you and saying certain stuff. You just got to take their word for it. You don't know what's going on. You're only looking at it from the perspective of, well, I know my loved one and I want to be able to I want to be able to hold on. I want to give it one more day. I hear what you're saying. So it's kind of like this conflicting battle. And I'm only going off of some of the videos I've seen. Again, one doesn't represent all. But when I tell you the level of rudeness some of these staff members was having, I was like, So this story, that just broke my heart, because I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine. And then I have to find out a year later that you possibly did something to my baby. Are you serious? And I bet you those parents probably had a feeling of like, you know how you feel like something ain't right, but you just can't put your finger on it. So there's so many things we can learn from this. But one of the things I feel like, you know, we don't need to be afraid to speak up. When in doubt, document everything, record everything. Like, you know, don't just let it fall by the wayside. Have somebody else you can talk to or bounce it off of. I know further down in the article, I think it was saying that the wife knew another nurse or somebody she knew that was in the medical field. And that person was like, wait a minute, something isn't right. And so when you have that intuition, that gift of discernment, whatever you want to call it, don't just let that go, especially now, because it is so much happening. And unfortunately, of course, a lot of this stuff has always been going on. But unfortunately, as time goes on, evil seems to get greater. And places and things and people and scenarios you used to could trust, right? Like now you have to always say, you know what? I'm never going to put anything past anybody. It's okay to have that what if. That does not mean live in fear. That does not, because God does not give us a spirit of fear. That does not mean live in a panic. And that does not mean like you just so fearful and you could your anxiety is so high you can't function. No. But don't put anything past anybody. Find somebody to talk to. Run it by somebody else. Get a second opinion. That story broke my heart. And I was like, you know what's so sad is, first of all, now you know how much work the police is going to have to do to investigate this. We don't even know how long she worked there. Now they're going to have to be able to find, they're going to have to go back and pinpoint from this day to this day, how many NICU babies, if you will, or babies in her department, was there a report of a fracture, a break, a sprain, an injury? They're going to have to go look at all of that. Was she working that day? And that's how they're going to have to start ruling it out. But that's a lot. And then imagine some parents that this probably happened to that does not know this story. So we're going to cover different stories on here just to bring awareness and different things like that. But yeah, that story was sad. We're definitely going to keep that family in our prayers. And here's what it says. Y'all know I always try to relate it to something spiritual. In Psalms, let me leave you with this. In Psalms 12:1, it says, in Psalms 121, it says, the Lord shall preserve you from all evil. He shall preserve your soul. The Lord shall preserve your going out and your coming in from this time forth and even more. So, you know, even though things happen, you have to understand that God still protects us. I know in the moment it seems like, why would this happen? God failed me. Why would this happen to my loved one? Why would this person pass away? This is so devastating. But even then, he still will protect you. That is one of his promises to you. And so that's why you don't have a spirit of fear. That's why you ask God for wisdom. Like I said, document stuff. I know one thing about it, they say, you know, even just from working, they say if you didn't document, it didn't happen. So anytime you are feeling some type of way, take a quick note in your phone, text yourself, go to the notes section, send yourself an audio, send yourself an email, something to where it cannot be deleted or erased. Because God will also give you wisdom on what to do. And that is also his way of protecting you. And so for them, what could have started off something like so bad and so evil and so devastating, especially your innocent baby, where you probably have so much guilt because you didn't protect them. You have guilt because you didn't have the knowledge. You have guilt because you feel like you didn't stand up. I pray that they get vindicated. And with that, I'm pretty sure a lawsuit is coming. And sometimes people are like, oh, why do everybody sue? It's all about the money. What do you mean? So tell me, what would you want in exchange for your suffering or somebody you love suffering? And money can't even replace that. Money can't replace the death of a loved one where it wasn't warranted. So yes, run me my coin, because nothing else can replace what I'm feeling, and the money ain't gonna replace it either. But what else could you put to at least try to compensate for the misconduct, the malicious intent, the crime? So I hope they actually end up suing, which I'm pretty sure they will. I'm pretty sure an attorney is drooling, okay? Because they should be compensated for this. Like, that's not fair. An apology sometimes it is, when I say it's not enough, thank you for saying sorry, but something else needs to come with this, because everybody needs to be responsible. The hospital, the staff, don't matter. Don't matter. So that's how I feel about it. Okay, let's get into this second story. Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but right before the fires in California happened, the video that was going viral was the African-American man who was being beat up in the hospital by like those officers. And one of the officers turned on his body cam and they gagged the man. They was punching him in his testicles. They was beating him up. And so that hit, but then the fires kind of happened and they kind of forgot about it. But I was like, no, I'm going to still follow up with this case. So here's this one. Son of man who was beaten and died in a New York prison sues guards and officials. Exactly. Run me my coin. So here's a quick picture of like they went out and they protested. I also saw another video where they went out and did a vigil for him, and it was by the prison, and they had like little candles and lights, and they were standing out there with him. And then the people that were in the prison, they were like turning the lights on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off, kind of like standing in solidarity. I was like, that's what's up. So this is the picture of the guy, if y'all don't remember. So this is one of the pictures that they released to the public. So that's him. So let's see what the story says. So it says, the son of inmate who died after a prolonged beating by New York prison guards said in a federal lawsuit Wednesday that his father's attackers systematically and casually beat him to death in a correctional system that tolerates violence. Robert L. Brooks, Sr., 43, died on December 10th, a day after the beating at Marcy Correctional Facility in upstate New York. Body camera video shows officers repeatedly punching and kicking Brooks, whose hands were cuffed behind his back. Officers struck him in the chest with the shoe and lifted him by the neck and dropped him while employees who were watching the beating appeared indifferent. What y'all got going on? And of course, we all know that just because this was caught on camera, we know that this has been going on. This is a fact. And so for me, when certain videos go viral, like I honestly like mentally and like sometimes I cannot watch it because I cannot watch the whole thing because something in me is just like, what? So I watch little bitty clips of it, but the little that I did see, and I don't know what prompted one of the officers to turn on his body cam, because obviously all the other officers, y'all body cam was off. Duh. So whatever made this officer turn on his body cam, I don't know if we should be giving you a hand clap or ready to sock you too, because you were also a participant just because you're standing there. And again, I get it. Sometimes when you're in situations, you don't know what to say, how to do, how to react, but that's neither here nor there. So I was like, I'm so grateful that the body cam actually exists, especially now that the guy passed away, because you all know if he would have reported it, and not to mention at the time when the beating was taking place, the freaking lieutenant was in the room. So who you finna report it to? The lieutenant is the head honcho. So he obviously wasn't going to take the report serious. This obviously has been going on. So that man would have walked up out of there, would have went back to his cell, would have walked out of the hospital, went back to his cell, and this would have fell on deaf ears. Even if he would have reported it to his family, even if the family would have brought up concerns, it all would have kept getting covered up. So when I saw that the governor was like, we're not finna play with y'all. This is enough. So then, okay, it says his son, Robert L. Brooks Jr. So now the dad passed away and the son is bringing on the lawsuit, as you should. His son, Robert L. Brooks Jr., sued the group of more than a dozen guards implicated in the attack, as well as the head of the upstate facility at that time and the commissioner of the State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. Exactly. When we sue one, we sue all. We going after everybody. Because what you will pretty much find is this is not an isolated situation. You're going to find as you keep investigating and as you keep climbing that tree, the Department of Corrections and the community supervisor, you knew something was going on. You may not have been there. You may not know the details, but you knew something. The commissioner, you knew. The head of the upstate facility, you knew something. Because here's my thing. How you running a facility, but you don't know what's going on? I'm not going to buy that. Again, you don't have to know the details and the nitty gritty, but you knew something. I'm pretty sure other inmates complained. So here's what the son says. I want the name Robert L. Brooks to be known forever and not just for his last final moments. Brooks Jr. said at the news conference. He described feeling helpless and devastated while watching the video. Now, put yourself in his shoes. Imagine, okay, mom, loved one committed a crime. Mother, father, sister, brother, cousin, aunt, uncle, son, daughter, don't matter. Best friend, don't matter. Spouse. And you minding your business, because you have to understand, Sometimes a lot of these family members find out about things when we find out through social media. So you think they went to his house and said, excuse me, Robert Brooks Jr., yeah, we just want to let you know your dad just got the brakes beat off of him. And I'm not trying to be funny. Like, they don't do that. So hypothetically, can you just imagine sitting at home and you scrolling through TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and you like, hold on. Or your first thought is like, here they go, beating another black man, da-da-da-da. And you get to looking and you realize it's your loved one. So he's saying that he was feeling helpless and devastated while watching the video. I know what I felt, and I don't even know this man. And I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, what if that was like my dad, my son, right? I couldn't even imagine that. And then just imagine the pain that that man is going through. And imagine how many other situations that this has happened specifically to him. And now you get to wondering, wait a minute. And let me tell y'all something about prison. I don't know why people be thinking people be getting visitations left and right. You have hundreds of inmates. There is no way that they can accommodate hundreds of inmates visitation. Not to mention, it ain't like you got one person on your list. So what you gonna have? 600 inmates doing, hypothetically, at the low end. You gonna have 600 inmates in a week of 7 days give visitation? No. So what people don't really know is a lot of these inmates, how these prisons and stuff are ran, you do not get to see your loved one regularly. You have some people that may go there every week, whatever the case may be. I know y'all be seeing those shows, Love After Lockup, and they look like, oh my goodness, they be running back and forth to see their man or whoever every single week. You have to understand there's hundreds of inmates, sometimes over 1,000. These people are not getting visits regularly. You may be getting phone calls and letters and email, the JPay. So imagine how many people don't actually get to physically see their loved ones. Oh, and let me go ahead and clock this. Unbeknownst to a lot of people, you think that you're having face-to-face visits. No, those visits are through a computer, or like you see in the movies, there's a plexiglass between you. You're not touching that person. You're not hugging that person. It's not that. It's not that. So a lot of these people be having situations going on with their loved ones, and you don't even get to see your loved one. So you might not always know what's going on. I remember there's times I've had a few people that's been in prison where you go on lockdown and they on lockdown, or they go to the hole and you don't even know. So you may all of a sudden hear from them yesterday. Then you like, wait a minute, I ain't heard from them in over 2-3 weeks or a month. Then they finally come out the hole, or they like, oh, we was on lockdown. You like, what? So it's not like they're keeping you informed. The prison don't care nothing about keeping the outside family members informed. They got to run a facility. They don't care about none of that. So he says the lawsuit which seeks unspecified damages alleges that the defendants at the prison used excessive force and were indifferent to his serious medical needs. It also claims gross negligence and wrongful death. An email seeking comment was sent to state correction officials Wednesday. They ain't finna say nothing. What would you say? A lie? Body camera don't lie. And let me tell y'all this other little secret. This is the other little part. Let's read this part really quick, and then I'll tell y'all what the secret is. It says, the results of Brooks' autopsy have not been made publicly available, but preliminary findings from medical examination indicate concern for asphyxia due to compression of the neck as the cause of death, as well as the death being due to actions of another, according to court filings. The lawsuit says the beatings were the sole cause of Brooks' death. The lawsuit notes that a watchdog group in 2023 reported rampant abuse by staff. Again, we knew this was reported. So let's go all the way up to the chain and see who knew what. Rampant abuse by staff at Marcy after interviewing people incarcerated there in October 22. The Correctional Association of New York said that they were told of physical assaults in locations without cameras, such as between the gates, in vans, and in showers. A guard told one new arrival that this was a hands-on facility. We're going to put hands on you if we do not like what you're doing, according to the report. So you better believe they finna investigate. New people coming in, who told you what? Let's go. But here's the part that I really wanted to touch on. The most important thing, because see, you guys have to understand, not saying you don't know this, but the most important thing is there's a difference between what you think is a crime and what the law says. We can see something and think clear as day, they're wrong, but that does not necessarily mean it can fall under the law. What do I mean? This autopsy is going to be key. Why? Because if you cannot prove, I don't even know if this light is on. If you cannot prove the connection between what was done specifically in that room was as a result of his death, what we see is blatant wrong, can't be charged under murder, manslaughter, felony aggravated assault. You have to know the law. So one of the key things is what they said in the court filing is the autopsy did say that there is a concern for asphyxia. So now you have to realize that, of course, all these other people that was a part of this, they're going to get lawyers. Their lawyer's job is to poke holes and say, well, the medical examiner said it was a concern. Those words matter if we're going off of what it says. If it's just a concern, that does not mean that this was a guarantee. This is the guaranteed reason why he died. But they're with the medical examiner saying, wait a minute, we do seem like that. We do think it's a concern for asphyxia due to compression of the neck as the cause of death. So you have to think their attorneys is going to want to poke holes in the story to try to be able to say, well, at the time, my client was standing in the room. So the people that was standing against the wall, they may not face charges on this particular part of his death because you have to be able to prove that what he did caused this person's death. Another situation, when they socked him in the testicles, they have to be able to prove that that sock caused his death. If you can't prove that, it's going to be a long trial. So now we may start to get into other charges. It may not be first degree murder, which means premeditated intent to kill and harm. Second degree murder is like, well, we didn't premeditate this, but due to the situation, boom, boom, boom. Right? Then you have manslaughter where it was like, oh, this kind of just happened. Then you have felony aggravated assault, right? Which could lead to the result of a person's death. So there's a lot of different terms. So sometimes we get upset and think, oh my goodness, they killed that man. But the person standing up against the wall, even though he was in the room, he might not face some same charges. The person with the body cam, he may actually get a deal because we got your body cam footage. And he could have been, before the camera turned on, he could have been the one that was, right? So sometimes you have to understand the difference between what you see and what the law says. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, this is kind of good because the medical examiner is 100% going to, if this is the case, right? Again, because we can't think with our eyes, the medical examiner is going to be key. He's going to have to link the injuries to the cause of death because they could have very well gagged him. That doesn't mean that's the reason why he died. They could have very well socked him, punched him, do this and did that, but that does not mean that that is why he died. Even though what we could say is, well, that's obvious, but they have to be able to connect it to bring certain charges, which a lot of the times before the trial and all of that gets started, that's why you see a lot of families immediately go to the lawsuit. Because see, in the lawsuit, now you can talk about other things, negligence, right? Excessive force, we can prove that. Because y'all may try to get us in trial and so-and-so may get off on this and may get off on that, may get probation here, there. Now you finna just piss me all the way off. Because my loved one is still dead. So they will go the lawsuit route because now you can start to create a I don't know if it's deposition. I forgot what that's called. When you do a civil lawsuit and by law, you can interview all of those people. I forget what they call that. Not a deposition. It might be deposition. I'm not sure. But so now you could put those people in a room and that attorney of Mr. Brooks, the dad, he can ask them people questions and it's going to be recorded. But it's not because we're trying to get you criminally right away. We trying to get this lawsuit on and cracking. So that's going to be key for sure. That's going to be key. Okay, so now what it says is not now this the governor, because I believe you knew too. So now it says Governor Kathy Hochul, I don't know how to pronounce that, Miss Kathy, has ordered state officials to initiate proceedings to fire employees implicated in the attack. Now, I like that because a lot of the times we see so many people, especially like in law enforcement, they get a leave of absence with pay. Fire everybody. We're not going to play this game. 15 correctional officers and 2 nurses were suspended without pay. So see, so there's 15 correctional officers. They were suspended. And they were suspended without pay. I like that. And one could say, oh, well, you know, that's not fair. They should still be. What if they find out that they didn't have nothing to do with it? Well, at this point, guess what? You have to just go with what the process is. Whether you was in the room, whether you walked past, everybody is with a flashlight. We want answers. We looking at you. We need to know what's going on. And I will be honest. I think the reason why she says she wants everybody fired and she took them off without pay is because of video. Now, had that not been no video, can y'all imagine how they would have spent the story? So it says, 1 officer quit. He just said, bye. Like, when you go home to your family or your wife or your husband or whoever, like, what is you finna say? Because I'm finna be like, Michael, is that you? First of all, even if you didn't put hands on, now I'm finna be questioning what did you do before the video started, number 1. And number 2, why are you even standing there in the room like that? What you got going on? It's just so much. But y'all know, sometimes what we think a person's reaction would be, meaning like the extended family or friends, child, they be supporting their people. Even the ones that gagged them, socked them in the thing. This comes from somewhere. You don't just wake up wanting to do this. That's just my belief. What y'all think? So 1 officer quit. He said, I ain't gonna be able to do that. 2 fingers like a player that I am. Hochul, Miss Kathy, the governor, also appointed a new leader for the prison 200 miles northwest of New York City. Duh, what would you gonna do? Keep everybody on? We're not moved. We're not impressed. That's the least you could have did, okay? I mean, at this point. So y'all keep up with this story because I feel like it is definitely important. It definitely needs to be talked about. Because sometimes when other things happen, which should get just as much publicity, we kind of forget about things that are still going on. And I think this is so important. Y'all, you know, and it could be so, I don't want to say scary, but don't put nothing past nobody. If you somewhere and you feel like XYZ, get to recording. You don't necessarily have to put your phone up. No, put it in your lap. Be able to, at this point, y'all know how y'all can add widgets. I don't know about Androids, but on iPhone, you can add widgets to your home screen. You need to have the voice memo widget on there. So all you got to do is press it. If you getting pulled over, you need to be able to say, I ain't going to say it because now all my phones is going to get triggered. SIRI, pull up voice memo, start recording. While that officer walking up. It's not about fear. You have to use wisdom now. Not saying we didn't use it before, but you understand what I'm saying? I don't play that. I don't play that. Because what I learned is people in a position of power will lie in a minute. They will save themselves. Even if you're not the person that's doing wrong, they will throw you under the bus for the sake of saving themselves. And you like, wait a minute, I didn't even, what? But this, I just wanted to bring a highlight to because we see a lot of this that's going on. And I'm not saying that this is anything, we're not just going to overly politicize anything. But now imagine when Trump said he wants police officers to have immunity, which means when they do anything, immunity means you don't get charged with anything despite what you've done. That means if we can prove it, if we can see it, if it's documented, verbally, written, you get immunity. Do we not know that these people are in these positions are still human? I pray that that is not something that happens. Because we still see stuff like this going on. And if you look at the footage, those officers were so comfortable. Then the way you dragging him in, you got his arms pushed all the way back. It's like, what do y'all got going on? And then what I want to know is, how are you presenting yourself to your family at like Thanksgiving and Christmas? Like, are they bigging you up? Do they know that you like low-key a monster? Probably, because you probably got that from somebody else in your family, or I can imagine in certain conversations. I forgot what governor that was, but y'all remember that somebody recorded that government saying the N-word, the hard ER? and you was at your house and somebody at your house, that's why you got to be careful, because people who think they for you be ready to turn on you. She was at her house talking, kiki laughing, and I don't know if it was one of her son's friends, but somebody recorded her saying the N-word with the hard ER. Now when you got busted, you want to issue an apology. Oh, please. Please. I don't trust it. So y'all keep up with this story. Let's say a prayer for the Brooks family. Okay, let's get into this last story and then we will be done. Okay, let me see. Let's take a look at this one. Y'all know y'all have seen all the things that has been happening with Miss Wendy Williams. Let's take a look at this story.
Currently trapped in a conservatorship. If you don't know what a conservatorship is, it's when someone is in charge of making decisions on your behalf, but usually because the conservatee is not able to make decisions for themselves. Wendy can make her own decisions. She is not cognitively impaired. She is not incapacitated. She is being taken advantage of.
Right.
Wendy, tell us what's going on.
First of all, to start with, my niece Alex knows a lot as well, you know, but I am not cognitively impaired, you know what I'm saying? No, but I feel like I am in prison. You understand what I'm saying? I'm in New York City, right? And Alex, you know exactly what you're talking about. You flew from Miami to New York, and you were right here with me. Go ahead.
She's there in New York, in this place, essentially like what some would call a luxury prison. This is her room. That's literally her apartment. But the thing about this apartment, and you know this, not Wendy, because you're there, it's small. She has a bed, a chair, a TV, a bathroom, and she's looking out one window.
And, excuse me, through my money, you know, I had this person buy the TV, you know, the kind of TV I like, through this person, because all of my stuff is in storage. You understand what I'm saying? Everything's in storage. And by the way, that was to sell my apartment. But anyway.
Is the person your guardian? Is that who you're referring to, your guardian?
Yes.
Well, you know, Sabrina Morrissey is her name. A&E Network and Lifetime were sued by Sabrina. She claims they exploited you in a vulnerable state. They exploited your condition, and I'm putting condition in air quotes. You signed to do that documentary without your consent, but A&E and Lifetime countersued and said that Sabrina realized the documentary would question the quality of her own guardianship. It actually says in the lawsuit, it appears that Morrissey is misusing her position as a guardian of Williams to silence criticism of her controversial and failed administration of the guardianship. They even used the words guardianship abuse. What do you think of that?
Me and the person that you were just talking about, this guardian person, we watched that 4-part thing on TV together. She was the one who wanted to do that. So I'm watching and writing things down, and she's watching and writing things down, and I saw all of that, by the way. Wow. And what do I think about being abused? Look, this system is broken. This system that I'm in, you know, this system, it has falsified, a lot. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
They said you're cognitively impaired and you're incapacitated.
Do I seem that way?
You've been calling me 5 times a day for the last 2 weeks. No, you don't seem that way.
Right. I just want to underscore what you were saying, Charlene, as well, and that is this is still a legal situation. So, yes, there are things that my aunt just can't talk about. Yeah. There are things that we as a family can't talk about.
That's right.
You know? But I think that the thing that we can talk about is the fact that my aunt sounds great. I've seen her in a very limited capacity, but I've seen her. We're talking to her. This does not match an incapacitated person.
Not at all.
And she, like, that's why we say she's in like a luxury prison. Yes. Because she is being held and she is being punished.
So the moral of that story is this. Have your affairs in order. You know, so many people that pass away, they don't have life insurance. Get the knowledge. Just look into it. If you have to record what your will is, if you have to, again, none of this stuff is to breed fear. Let's just take care of business. If you have to have a lawyer and then have another lawyer that say, hey, because y'all know how people do. People start getting sick. And this happened in my family. Child, my family, the will was set up one way, passed down, still was set up okay. Then all of a sudden, when that person started to get too sick, all these changes got made. I'm thinking, like, how did she make all these changes if she wasn't feeling good? And y'all was saying all the stuff she's saying. But ironically, she was able to make changes, sign paperwork. No, you just did that for your benefit. And y'all know who y'all are. And y'all know another thing family do. Another thing family is good for, baby. They will cut out who it rightfully belongs to so they can take what's rightfully yours and say it's theirs. And you know what's so funny? I have this from personal family experience. None of their lives is prospering. While you tried to take, steal. Because here's my thing. Let me go off on a tangent. If I have family, okay, let's just say that a person's mother had their will set, right? And the will included everybody it needed to include it. Why would you then now change it to cut certain people out? People could just be so selfish and so jealous. And you went through all of that and you have nothing to show for your conniving and evil ways. I'm never finna have family and purposely cut you out of something. For what? For what? Y'all, I still have an issue till this day. Let me tell y'all something. And I'm not going to go into the detail. So my grandparents had a house, right? Me and my sister are rightfully my grandparents' my grandfather's biological grandchildren. But you know who benefited from everything that my grandfather built? Everybody but me and my sister. Cool. Not cool, but cool. Then you had a bunch of people in my family on my father's side that took advantage. This is just one part that took advantage of the home that my grandparents used to live in and ran it to the ground. So let me get this straight. You kept something away from other people just to run it to the ground? Y'all, it was this one time where I had not stepped foot in my grandparents' home in years. Everybody living in it but me and my sister. Everybody taking advantage of it but me and my sister. And one of my family members posted a picture of the inside of my grandparents' house trying to show off something else. Like, oh, look at this person and this person. We linked up, whatever. They weren't trying to show the house. When I tell y'all, I looked at them pictures, and I'm not even one to do stuff like this, but I put a comment, I said, is this mom and pop house? Because now I'm looking at the background, trashed. So you went out of your way to keep something from people to run it to the ground? Y'all lived worse than when they was alive. A mess. So I don't even understand why people do stuff like that. What was your end game? Your end game was to keep it from other people. You never even said, here's $10, here's a penny. Nothing. You kept it to run it to the ground. Pipes, plumbing don't work. The flooring's still the same. All of these years, now mind you, my grandparents have been dead for well over 20 years. You mean to tell me you never thought to upgrade it? You never thought to do something with the property? You just ran it to the ground and you tried to keep it from other people to run it to the ground? And now when other things has happened, you passed it along like you was doing somebody a favor and you gave them a hole in the wall? And now this person wants to remodel the home? Why didn't you do that while they was living there, basically borderline from hoarders? Why is it that the flooring is still the same from when I was a kid? Why is it that I look in the background of the picture and it's a hole in the glass? Why are y'all living like that, first of all? But see, people will try to keep something from you out of jealousy and bitterness, and you got nothing to show for it. All you did was stay somewhere free and bicker amongst each other because you wanted to keep it from who it rightly really should have belonged to, and that's fine. Well, let's check out y'all lives now. Yeah, I'm saying it. So this is the kind of stuff people do. So when people try to do you that way, you just sit back and let it play out. It's sad. People be jealous and bitter of you, and you be minding your own business trying to figure out why. Can't none of them ever say I called them and asked to borrow no money. Can't none of them ever say I asked them for any type of favors. Can't none of them ever say they even halfway tried to meet my son, wanted to meet my son, that I asked them to babysit. And you know what's so crazy? Why they used to say all this negative stuff about me and my sister growing up, my mom always taught us to be respectful. My mom always taught us to be kind. While y'all was saying, y'all grown, y'all too fast, y'all gonna be pregnant. But last time I checked, you know, y'all got a lot going on. But I get it. People do stuff like that when they see greatness in you. Never disrespected them. Never called them out on something. And we just talking about a house. It's other things that they never even said, hey, well, if my family has a right and he wasn't even my father, surely you have a right and he's actually your biological grandfather. So when you took, now you don't have nothing. Y'all, they still live the same, act the same. They ain't doing nothing. They don't look healthy. They ain't better. It's just nothing for nothing equals nothing. And while it's annoying and while it's disturbing, well, it used to be, I don't care about it no more. But just have your affairs in order. The people who you feel like you can trust, that may change. So do what you got to do to keep your affairs in order. Have multiple backups. Shoot, send an email to yourself and tell somebody that you may not even be in a kumbaya with, like a family member. Tell a coworker. Because y'all know what happens when people pass away. It gets out. They tell people. You may have worked at that job 5 years ago, but you could tell that one coworker, if something ever happens, and not like if somebody kill me or something like that, but if something happens, I have an email or I have a USB drive or Find somebody in the family or just tell everybody, hey, she told me she sent me an email 5 years ago. What? Yeah. See, sometimes we so busy trying to tell family this and tell our BFF this. Girl, find that person at the job where you just be like, hey, how you doing? And you tell them. Or go get you an attorney. Hey, can you record me? Let's get this notarized, stamps, Because in the decline, people may try to change my mind about people who I know I love and care about because they want to be greedy and selfish. So now she's in this situation. We're not going to get on the other side of who Wendy Williams been. That's not the point of this. But now she's in this situation and she like, you full blown taking advantage of me, taking advantage of my money because you think you can trust people. Until they realize they think they got something over you and they think they can control you. Have your life insurance. Send yourself an email. Child, technology is so bomb. You can schedule when to send out an email. 15 years from now, send this email out. And guess what? If I happen to still be alive and I'm in my 70s and this email blast go out, oh, well, y'all got it. Y'all finna read it, which means I ain't changing. This is what I truly want. But overall, just keep your affairs in order. Have your affairs in order. Check on your affairs. See if there's any changes because of medical issues or concerns or, right? Keep your business in order. Have somebody you could trust. And it's not always the person that you see at gatherings. It's not always the person that share your last name. But if you have children and you want to protect them, and if you have assets and something you worked for, do what you got to do. And mind you, y'all, this how you know, back to my situation, this is how you know it's shenanigans. Do you think any of those people in my family ever said, hey, look, can we sit down and we want to actually talk to you about what your grandparents' will was? Never. I'm not going to keep something from my sons, if my son had children, or if my sister's children had children, why would I not even, let's just say the person in your family left you absolutely nothing. If my mom left me everything, why would I not do for my sister? It doesn't matter what a person can feel about you. You're her child. That's your grandchildren. Let's just say if everything was left to me, what? And I know we can go into, but y'all don't know because some people be using and take advantage. That's what this person finna do. How many people do y'all really see get left with assets and land and actually do the right thing? Let's just be real. It's a level of selfishness in them too. You know how I know? Because you got left everything and didn't think about nobody else but yourself. That's how I know. So everybody's not crystal clean like we like to think. Because guess what you get to say? Well, I can't help it. So-and-so left everything to me. Okay, we not tripping about that. But you have siblings, you have nieces, you have children. You finna make sure your children is good or maybe not. Y'all know how it go when this stuff get to jumping off. So don't try to act like every single person that was left something just is all crystal clear. No, y'all got selfish motives too, because you tired of being broke too. And you was sad so-and-so passed away, but you couldn't wait either. You not said, y'all, let me figure out what the finances is after we sell this. No, you kept it all for yourself. And you decided to give it to who you thought was worthy. But guess what? The person that left you the money, you wasn't worthy either. You made mistakes. You've lied. You connived. You did all kinds of stuff. But they still left you something though, right? Right? Because last time I checked, ain't none of us perfect. But you think because your little name is on a paper, that makes you above people. Well, sucks to be you because you ain't got nothing to show for all you tried to take. And on that note, like y'all know I always say, we gonna learn something from any and everything.